From manufacturing to retail, plenty of Canadian industries are having to deal with the disruption of new technologies. Yesterday, we spoke with the former Cisco CEO John Chambers, who warned many jobs would be lost in the coming decade due to things like artificial intelligence.
The large companies in Canada, the U.S. in total will not add any headcount this next decade. In fact, will probably destroy a lot of jobs because of automation, artificial intelligence, et cetera.
All right, let's dig a little bit deeper into that storyline. Joining us from Los Angeles is Howard Brown, the CEO of artificial intelligence company ringDNA, which counts Goldman Sachs and NBA legend Kobe Bryant among its backers. Thanks, as always, for joining us, Howard. You know, it's a busy Jobs Friday here in Canada. It's a busy Jobs Day in the United States. And there does seem to be this growing worry out there around automation and how it affects the jobs market. But you're at the center of this story. What would you say to that?
Well, I think there's always a worry about jobs, but as we're seeing, job market is growing, and artificial intelligence is actually enhancing performance. So while people are scared of automation and what's happening with artificial intelligence, we see artificial intelligence as helping transition workers from more mundane tasks to ones where they can actually use their human experience to deliver better results and better experiences for the customers that they speak to.
Howard, what might be one example of that maybe you guys are involved in, or just generally you're seeing in any particular industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think at the heart of artificial intelligence is the idea that you can analyze big data at scale to help prioritize tasks and to help educate and train your employees. So while in the past it was difficult to assess which workers needed help in what areas of their business or in their communications, ringDNA analyzes, for example, hundreds of millions of transactions, the conversations that people are having on the phone, the text messages that they're sending, to help surface areas where workers need additional training. So rather than laying victim and thinking that artificial intelligence is really about robots, it's really about enhancing performance. Athletes, doctors, they've been using artificial intelligence for years to help diagnose and to help improve their performance. ringDNA really is about helping diagnose the entire revenue funnel within business organizations, helping them focus on where they need to center their efforts to help their employees improve.
Now, that's helpful context, especially for anybody who's in those kinds of industries. It is an important time because we're trying to figure out the roadmap ahead for AI. You've got governments, regulators that are trying to figure out how they should be monitoring AI. And they hear people who say, hey, you know, the robots are going to take our jobs. Is this the stage where the conversation is being shaped? I mean, what are you hearing, what are you seeing when it comes to things like regulation and how that ultimately is going to play out?
Yeah, great question. I think that there's always concern with any new technology that it could have negative consequences. And like any regulation, there is typically unintended consequences of those regulations. So while you may set out to create regulations, legislation to stop negative things from happening, sometimes they create the very problems you're trying to avoid. And so I think it definitely calls for deeper study, analysis. I mean, this is a rapidly changing market. Artificial intelligence is impacting a lot of different professions, a lot of different jobs. There's certainly concerns, you know, the defense industry, you know, how independent are we going to make the robots? But this is really about enhancing human performance, enhancing workers, giving them training. You know, we know that the jobs market is changing, so we really need to empower our employees to gain the skills that are needed in this new economy. And this economy is really about experiences. As a business owner, as a consumer, I know that I'm doing business with a lot of different brands. The brands that are going to keep my business are the ones that are going to offer me the best experience. And so if I need help, if I need to talk to customer support, if I need to communicate with my sales team, I need to have a better human experience. I need a more informed worker, and that's what we're empowering people to do.
So if we were to try to look at how jobs will shift, you alluded to this a little bit, especially when it comes to, say, the sales and marketing, or the teams at companies they're working on customer satisfaction. That's one thing. But we see all these amazing stories about the power of AI. I mean, take an area like the medical area. We were talking about that earlier in the program, which in some ways is ripe for disruption. But what does AI do when it comes to a title like, being a doctor?
Absolutely. So as a doctor, I have a lot of things that I need to do, including diagnose, treat a patient, look at charts, notes, all sorts of things. The area that AI has helped benefit doctors is really diagnosis. We have found that in radiology, AI can actually either equal to or surpass radiologists as it relates to diagnosing conditions like brain tumors. Now, that's not to say you're going to eliminate the radiologist's diagnosis portion of their job, but to surface areas where you may see, for example, a brain tumor, and allowing the doctor to spend a few minutes validating that data instead of close to an hour of diagnosing, that allows them to then go to the patient and spend time with the patient dealing with these difficult conditions, bringing the human element of a doctor to the bedside, where, quite frankly, I think there's need for improvement over a long period of time. So it allows them to do more of the human part of medicine and less of the diagnostic.
All right. Interesting perspective as always. Howard, thanks very much. Howard Brown, CEO of artificial intelligence company ringDNA, joining us from Los Angeles.